Hi folks, this is David Cox, and this is just a brief introduction to a series of 12 Facebook Lives that I did on the subject of internet marketing. And internet marketing is a fundamental part of doing business these days, particularly if you're just doing business online. So these are the 12 days that I did for a particular group, and I hope you get something out of it. If there's any questions, then send me a message and subscribe to the video at the end. It's David Cox here in Sheffield, and this is me meeting my first day of obligations to Laura to do a Facebook Live. So the next 12 days, what I'll be doing is talking about all those bits of internet marketing that you need to support your business and indeed to turn it into a business in its own right. So here we go, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Hi, it's David Cox here again, and this is day 2 of the 12-day Facebook Live challenge. And so today, as we're on Facebook, then I thought I'd talk about Facebook. Now, I actually write online courses for a number of platforms, and I put these out all over the place. And so today what I thought I'd do is just have a quick chat about Facebook, because Facebook is fundamental to most of what you want to do online for advertising your business and connecting with friends and family and colleagues and so on. And there are a lot of serious advantages of using Facebook. Not everybody likes it, but it really can't be avoided. And I suppose the first thing, if you're going to be using Facebook for your business, then it's not a bad idea to have 2 accounts, one for personal stuff and the other one for business. And then you'll have 2 profiles. So in your profile, what you'll be doing is you'll be putting in lots of information that people can connect to, what you're all about, what are you looking for, how are you communicating with the world, because basically Facebook is a communications platform. So the first thing to think about once you've set up your profile and got your account running is to set up a page, also known as a fan page. Now, pages are an essential part of things like adverts. So if you get into the realms of running Facebook ads, then that will ask you, what's your fan page? And your fan page becomes then part of your advertising platform. And the other thing which pages do, which is important to note, is that they are the integral part of chatbots. Now there are several chatbots, and we'll talk about those in a bit more detail later on in this 12-day challenge. But pages are essential for chatbots because the chatbots connect to your page, and that's where the information will be. So chatbots are very much part of it. So the page is very much part of your shop window. So this is all about you and your business. The other thing is groups. Now, groups are where you can get people in, you can collect people in there, they become members of your group. You can control that. You can make jump through various hoops in order to become part of your group. And you can actually ask them to connect to your messenger chatbot through putting a link in and a requirement and a password that is delivered by Messenger on your Facebook group. So Facebook groups are very much part of it. Now, the other main thing about Facebook is that it's Facebook ads that are probably the most important part of the whole Facebook platform. And a Facebook ad is a way of bringing people to your sales website, your funnel, your presence online through a Facebook ad. And there are many different sorts of Facebook ads. But Facebook ads, for example, you can run a likes campaign for your page. So when you've got your page set up, then you would run a likes campaign through the Facebook ads platform, and the Facebook ads platform, or the pages, if you're going to be using them with ManyChat, need a number of likes, which I think is about 25 at the minute. So once you set up a page and you want to use a chatbot, then the way to do that is by having at least 25 likes on your page, and you can have as many pages as you like. So that's ads. And the other thing about ads is that you can measure the effectiveness of your ads by installing a thing called Facebook Pixel. And I can help with all of these things. So if you've got any issues around any of this stuff and you want to know a little bit more, send me a personal message and I'll do my best to help you out. And things that Facebook like are entries and videos. So we'll talk about videos in a bit more depth tomorrow. But then it's certainly worth a listen. Anyway, on to YouTube and videos. So the thing about YouTube is that it is one of the most popular search engines and places to find out how to do things. And certainly it's worth putting your business interests on there. As a trainer, then I put stuff on YouTube all the time. These can be only little taster videos, but they can also be instructive and just general messages. And the thing about YouTube is that anything you put up there can be set to public or it can be set to private. So that's your choice, and it's one of the settings. So what you'll need to do is to set it up is a Gmail account. And I would strongly recommend that you set up a new Gmail account just for YouTube, so that you can then log in and send videos up there, and we'll talk about how to produce those in a minute. So you put your Gmail account up, your new Gmail account up there, and open a YouTube account and set up your channel. And that's going to be restricted for a while. You can't put unlimited videos up there. They're only about 15-20 minutes in the initial stages, until YouTube get a feeling that you're serious about running a YouTube channel and want to be a regular, and people are looking at your channel and subscribing to it and having a look at whatever it is that you've got running on there. So just to check things out, you can find me on YouTube, and if you like my channel, that'll be very nice, and that just helps me to get more views on my stuff that I put up there onto YouTube. And it's all searchable. So when you set up your channel, the more text and information you put into your profile, then the better it is for YouTube. And every view of a video that goes up there will help the general, how should we put it, your presence on the YouTube channel. And every video that you put up there can have a thumbnail as a front end. And YouTube allows you to select like a single image which you can put on the front, and that is searchable by the YouTube and Google search engines, because YouTube is owned by Google, so they've got all their search engine strength running on the YouTube channel. So a thumbnail is very much part of it, and you can use a site called Canva, canva.com, to set up a thumbnail which you can then put on there, and you can put either your name on there or your business name on there, and that can go on the front of any video that you post. So the other use for YouTube is running ads, and you can then select to run your ads with anybody else's video which is on YouTube. So that's one of the other advantages. It's similar to Google Ads. Now, I personally don't use either of those, but certainly YouTube Ads is on the radar for some future activity, and that's what I'll be doing. So the next thing is, how do you produce a video? Well, you may have noticed that I'm not using a mobile phone for these Facebook Lives. I'm using a PC because I run my Facebook stuff on a PC rather than on a smartphone. And this particular video will then be saved, and I can then post that up to YouTube. So what I've done, or what I will do at the end of this 12 days, is I'll stitch all these little messages together and turn it into a video, and I'll put it onto my YouTube channel. And with Laura's permission, I'll give you a link to that later on. So how else do you produce a video? Well, on phones is one thing, and then you've got to get it up there, so that's one way of doing it. But you can also run a product called Zoom, and Zoom is a facility for running meetings. So if 5 or 6 of you want to run a meeting together, you can set up a Zoom session. So I'm not going to post this anywhere apart from talking about it, but if anybody on this group wants to run a Zoom session with Laura's approval, then we can set that up and show you how it works, and then post that onto YouTube, and you can see how these things can be made to work. And what Zoom does is it leaves a little picture of an image of you, whoever's on the meeting, at the side of the video, and you can then share screens and look at all kinds of interesting stuff on the Zoom platform. And you can also run a thing called Loom, and Loom is it's similar, but it's like a one-off. And again, you can run Loom and video the contents of your screen, so you can run your message through using stuff like PowerPoint and similar, and record that into Loom. And the thing about Loom is that you can actually snip bits off the front and off the back end, so that if you've got a bit on the front that you don't want, you can cut it off with Loom. And if you've got a bit on the end, then similarly, but you can't take stuff out the middle. If you want to really do a job on editing videos, then I use Camtasia for that. And the Camtasia allows you to edit your video and your audio files separately, and you can do much more of a professional job using Camtasia. So that's producing an MP4 type file, and you can then upload it to YouTube. Now, the other video hosting channels that I use, well, the main one is Vimeo, and I use Vimeo because I can then embed that into training platforms, and then I just embed the link to the Vimeo channel, the Vimeo video that I've produced, and that's then there, and it's a lot more secure, and I've got a lot more control over who can watch it, who can download it, what I say on the front and what I say on the end, and how I can also put little messages on there to say what to do next and so on. So Vimeo is a bit more professional. And then there is Wistia. So Wistia is another channel which I've not used, but a lot of people do. So that's pretty much it for today. Now, a quick flag for anybody that gets to the end of the video is, and you're looking for training on a lot of these techie bits and pieces like YouTube, like Facebook, like LinkedIn, like almost any aspect of techie stuff, then you can get, and this is Black Friday week or Cyber Monday week, on a site called Udemy, that's spelled udemy.com, and they do courses on all of that stuff. Now, I've got some courses running on there. If you search for me on udemy.com, then you'll find whatever I've got up there. And you can also, for the period of this week, buy many of their courses for about 10 quid, and you get lifetime access to that. So you can pick and choose what it is that you want to learn about. So I'd strongly recommend Udemy. And you can also, as an instructor, you can put your own messages up there. And the only requirement for that is they've got to be 30 minutes long. So I might talk about that in a Facebook Live a bit later on the week. So that's it for today. So bye for now, and talk to you tomorrow. Hi folks, it's David Cox here, number 4 day on the Facebook Live challenge. And today I want to pick up from a word I used yesterday, which was Udemy. Now, Udemy is a website that hosts all sorts of different training programs. You know, the 3 main areas of your life: health, wealth, and relationships. And they run courses on many of those, covering all of the subjects that you could ever want to have a look at. And I use Udemy because I host courses on there, mainly technical or helpful, or certainly connected with internet marketing. And some of those are free, and if you want to have a look for me on there, just do a search on udemy.com. That's spelled udemy.com, for David Cox. There are more than one David Cox in this world, but I'm sure you'll be able to pick me out. And some of those are free, and they're all useful things to know and might help you in your business activities. So why do I use Udemy? Well, I use it for selling courses and hosting courses, but I also use it for learning about technology and other stuff that is going to help me in running the business that I've got here. And I'll give you an idea of some of the range of things that you can get into. And certainly Facebook and Facebook ads is a complicated area. And there are courses there run by an outfit called Course Envy. It's Course and Envy, but only one E in the middle. And so if you have a look for them, you can find some useful stuff. And when you go to Udemy, you'll find that every course is rated on a star rating. The maximum is 5. But you're looking for courses with an average of 4.5-ish kind of ratings, and plenty of reviews and people who have bought the course and will actually then leave a review online for other learners and other students to get the hang of. So you can also get courses on chatbots, and we'll be talking about that a bit later this week, on Excel spreadsheets. If Excel's your thing, then there's courses on Excel and PowerPoint, another Microsoft Office product. Then we've got things like LinkedIn. I'll be talking about LinkedIn tomorrow when I've done a bit more research on LinkedIn, because there's lots of helpful stuff on LinkedIn. And I know that there are people making a very good business out of connecting with others using LinkedIn, which is a very useful thing to do in your business lives. YouTube, we talked about a lot yesterday, and there is certainly a lot of stuff on YouTube's, and part of YouTube, it's a bit like this, is making of a video and what you can have for a video. I probably break all the rules, so don't use me as a standard for that, but there's a lot of helpful stuff. There's a guy called Phil Ebiner, E-B-I-N-E-R, who does a lot of courses on photography and making courses and just generally being helpful around the video way of doing things. You can then have some general courses, things like internet marketing or affiliate marketing. So you can run a search in the udemy.com search bar, and that will help you to find courses on things like that. And if you're into building up an email list of people to contact through your business, then how to manage an email responder is very much part and parcel of what you can find on Udemy. A lot of this stuff you can also find on YouTube, but combine the two, and you don't need to pay a lot for learning how stuff works on the internet and in the general IT techie world. And YouTube in particular is one which is always free, very helpful, and Udemy just backs that all up. And the thing about this week, when I'm recording this, is that it's part of Black Friday week and Cyber Monday, and most of the courses are on there sold at £9.99, so 10 quid for many, many hours of training and all kinds of documentary backup is certainly well worth looking at. If you're into real techie stuff like programming, then there are courses for any kind of programming language on there. I run a course on Introduction to Windows 10. So if you know someone who needs to know a bit more about Windows 10 and what it can do, then I've got a course on there which is selling this week for £9.99, and it was written as an introduction really to people of my generation who want to know a bit more about how to get online, how to find their way around Windows 10, and how to connect with things like email and stuff like that. So that's pretty much Udemy. There are lots of courses on there too about personal development. And if you want to know a little bit more about how to organize yourself on setting goals and such like, then there are courses on that. And there are also courses on health matters, like growing old gracefully or not so gracefully, depending on who you are and what it is that you want to do. So all of that is on udemy.com, and I look forward to you subscribing to my free courses. If you want to buy one of mine, that's even better. But the free courses are there just to be helpful, and you can learn quite a bit from that. So that's it for today. Bye for now. Hi folks, this is day 5 of the 12-day challenge, and today it's all about LinkedIn, also known as social media for business. Now, I've had an account on LinkedIn for years, but I never used it because I'm a bit past the age of employment by anybody really, apart from myself. And so I never really paid a lot of attention to LinkedIn, but it's changed a lot over the years, and it's now a way for anybody in business to be able to put themselves out there and connect with potential customers, other people for running joint ventures. And one of the best exponents of this, of course, is Laura Muse, our host on this particular group, and Ellie Mackay, of course, who's also done this in PPN Sheffield. So LinkedIn, what's it all about? Well, first off, there's a couple of people that I've drawn on to make these comments, and one is Helen Pritchard, who's running a 5-day LinkedIn challenge, which you might find on, you can Google it or you can find it on Facebook, and she's got connections with Progressive Property, so it'd be worth having a look for Helen Pritchard. The other name that I've got, which I've used to draw on, is a guy called Patrick Dang, D-A-N-G, who's based in California, and he wrote the LinkedIn course that I've got on Udemy, which I found very useful. And the essential message coming through about LinkedIn is that it's really all about your profile. So what this is about is building up your profile on LinkedIn so that people can find you on LinkedIn and make connections, and then you can open up discussions with them at whatever level you like. So there's a number of ideas which have been put through to through these channels of who you are and who your ideal customer is, and this is business based. So it's all about optimizing your profile on LinkedIn. Now, mine is not the best example of this. I've made a couple of adjustments to it, just having prepared for this Facebook Live, but I can't hold my profile up as being a classic example of what you should be doing. Much better to look at Laura Muse on LinkedIn, and you get a much better idea. So you need to have an idea first about who your ideal customer is, who you're going to approach, and it's got to be done on the words of I help X accomplish Y by doing Z, and that's the essential message through LinkedIn. So what you need to do is to set up a professional photo, looking at the camera and having a smile on your face, which is not a grin like me, but I'm told I don't smile much. Well, I do on the inside, but there we go, that's another matter. And you need to have a headline, because the headline is the main role that you do. My headline has got properties in it. Now, I'm in the property business, but I don't do a great deal with property these days, because the first question that any mortgage company has got to ask me is, well, how old are you and how are you going to pay our money back? Okay, well, there's no real answer to that. So things move on. So put your role in there, and the advice from these guys is not to use the word sales. If somebody puts sales in there, then that's a big switch off for a big chunk of the universe, and so sales is a word to try and avoid. You can have an account manager or business development or any other words which lead to the same thing, but not quite as brutally honest as sales. And the idea is to have at least 500 connections on LinkedIn. Now, I paid no regard really to the number of connections that I've got. When I had a look yesterday when I was thinking about doing this Facebook Live, I found that I got 492 connections. So that's not bad, and that's really as a result of having properties in the headline on my profile. So to get up to 500, all of you are welcome to connect to me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn handle is David Cox Trainer, all one word, and so you should be able to find me on that. And I look forward to getting up to 500. So then it's a question of summarizing who you are, what you do, what you know, and how you can provide a service to the big wide world. So that's the summary. And the experience that you've had of what you've done, all about you, the things that you've covered in your life, all of those can go into your LinkedIn profile. And your endorsements. Now, endorsements are something which are important, and it's a feature of LinkedIn. So if you get to my LinkedIn profile, then you can give me an endorsement, and that will be gratefully received, because that helps to build up your profile for other people, and they know what you can do and how many people there are around who find value in what it is that you're doing. And then to get some recommendations and some testimonials. Testimonials are everything in business, because that is really the reassurance that people need in order to be able to do business with you if they've never met you before. So that's pretty much it. Investigate Helen Pritchard, because she's UK based and she's running this thing. I think the next 5-day challenge starts on January the 6th. So good luck with that, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Hi folks, it's David Cox here again with day 6 of the 12-day Facebook Live challenge, and today I just want to talk about podcasts and webinars and meetings as ways of developing your business. But I've just been having a look back at my YouTube channel, and thanks for subscribing to that. I thought, well, maybe I might try and do some advertising on that and make a few quid on the side. And it's telling me that I need to have 1,000 subscribers, and at the moment I've got 8, so I've got a bit of a way to go on that. And I also need 4,000 watch hours on my YouTube channel, and I think I'm running at about 3 on that. So I've got a bit of a way to go on YouTube. So hopefully if you're listening to this, then you'll find my YouTube channel and give me a subscription and like what you find there, and then we can move on, and send me a message and I'll return the favor. So thanks very much for that. So let's talk about podcasts. Now, Laura has just recently launched her podcast, and the podcasts are one way of getting your message out there through what you're thinking at that particular time, explaining what it's about. And the big deal about podcasts is that you can listen to them in the car or when you're not doing something that requires you to be looking at it. So podcast is very useful for that. And what do you need to do that? Well, there's a bit of software called Audacity that you can have. You might need a decent microphone. It's not always the microphones that are in your smartphones or connected to your webcams like the one I'm using at the moment, but there are better ones around, and if you're going to make a thing of podcasts, then you probably need a better microphone. And then you can upload it to a hosting company. And I think if you do a Google search on Laura Muse podcast, then you'll see the various hosting companies that Laura is using, and has been successful with that. And other successful podcasters who you may all know is Rob Moore and Progressive Property. The Progressive Property one is now hosted by my colleague Kevin McDonnell. So there's a lot of business to be done in podcasting, just to put your personal brand out there and let people know what you're up to. And then you can host it on any number of channels. I suppose iTunes is the favorite. You can do it on Spotify and any number of others. And you can use it to interview people. So then we can move on to webinars. Now, webinars are one way of selling your product or your service through people logging in at a particular time and listening to your message. And your message is going to be along the lines, as Russell Brunson of ClickFunnels would say, the hook, the story, and the offer. And a webinar will always have an offer at the end of it, or it pretty much nearly always does have. And the offer will be a stack. It's have a lead magnet in there, like a free offer, a free review, or a free download. And then it would have the price of the main product that you're trying to present through the webinar. And there's a whole variety of different webinar softwares out there, but GoToWebinar is probably the best. And GoToWebinar will allow you to save the contents of the webinar and then present it later if you need to, and ultimately turn it into what's known as an evergreen webinar. So it can sit there on your website and be accessible by anybody that wants to make the connection. So that's GoToWebinar. There's also Webinar Jam, which other people use, and various other ones too. So you've got the whole business of webinars, which can be a very useful way of building up your business and is reckoned to be one of the best. And I would think altogether the best would be to hold meetings. Now meetings, the investment in meetings is always quite considerable, so you need to be a little bit cagey about and be confident about what you've got to offer at a meeting if it's a sales meeting. But you can also use meetings for trainings and combine that with a sales operation and so on. So meetings are another way of getting your message out there. So that's it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow, when tomorrow I'll be talking about chatbots and what they can do for you. So morning folks, this is day 7 of the 12-day Facebook Live Challenge, and today I want to talk about chatbots. Now chatbots there's more than one type of that, but the main one I suppose is the one that connects to a Facebook page. And the Facebook page is something that most people have if they're in business anyway. It's the one that promotes the business. And to connect a chatbot to that, also known as a messenger bot, then your page ideally needs some likes, around 25. There's a bit of doubt about that number, but I think if you've got at least one of your pages which has got more than 25 likes on it, then chatbots will work with any of your pages, and there's no real limit on how many pages you can run within your account. So the types of chatbots that there are, and I'm using 2, one is called ManyChat, which is probably the most popular, and probably the one that I would suggest that you use if you have not fired up a chatbot yet. And the other one is called Segmate, which is quite a bit simpler, but maybe a bit more awkward to use. So there are benefits to both of those, and they both come with training. And again, if you want training, you can find training in Udemy. If you go back to one of these earlier Facebook Lives, then you'll find me talking about Udemy and where that you can find chatbots and ManyChat in particular, because ManyChat works with templates, which means that you can load a template into your bot and it will then be connected with the particular type of business or industry that you're in. For example, there would be one for real estate agents and one for pediatricians and one for chiropractors and so on, etc., etc. So that's the way that it works. And what it's doing is it's building a subscriber list within Facebook Messenger. So you can then, once you've built your subscriber list, you can then send out messages to your subscriber list, and you can send them things like images and documents and videos and general messages and keep in touch with them. And this is extra to the email addresses that you may have for them. And there are a number of different ways that you can run chatbots. The first one to talk about is what's called an ad engage. And an ad engage is where you're running a Facebook ad, and you're running your Facebook ad to Messenger. Now you can load in some JavaScript, which might sound a bit technical, but it's not really, only about a bit of cutting and pasting into your Facebook ad. So that's one type of chatbot that you can connect with your Facebook ads. There's then a post engage, and that is a bot that fires off when someone enters a comment on your page for, let's say, a word that you can say. So you can say, well, I've got X, Y, and Z that I want to send to all of my supporters. And if you type the word info in the comment section, then I will send that. And what that will do is the word info will then trigger off a chatbot, which will then deliver the information or the message that you're advertising on that particular instance. So those are post engage. There's also cast engage, which is a way you can actually schedule messages to go out to people who are already your subscribers. So that's a way of being able to, again, message, a bit like an email responder, but you can set the timing for that and the content for that and so on. Now, it's worth pointing out at this point that Facebook have got some pretty evil rules and regulations about messenger bots, and you come across the thing called the 24-hour rule, which means that if you go over 24 hours and your subscriber has not responded to you, then you're on the wrong side of Facebook and you could lose all of your accounts from Facebook. So the other thing that you can get with this is what's called an m.me link. And if you look at your page and you go into the About section, you'll find that there is a messenger link in there, which is m.me/ and then some letters and numbers. Now you can edit that, but you can only edit it if you've got the aforesaid 25 likes or more. But so you can then have an m.me link that looks reasonably coherent. And what I'll do is at the end of this Facebook Live, I'll put a link at the bottom in the comment section, and you can then fire that off and see how it works. I've got my fingers crossed on that because I haven't checked it out lately, but it's something which is there to be done, and you can do that on any Facebook page. So I've set up new Facebook pages, and I've set up m.me links with a meaningful connector on the end, and it seems to work okay. So that's the m.me link. And what that does is takes you to the page and will then deliver the information that you want. In the basics of this, then you'll be setting up what's called a default message. So one of the drawbacks of this is that if you're sending messages to someone who you don't know or is not a friend or already on your messenger list, then you send them what's called a default message, and they have to click on the Get Started link at the bottom in order to start the whole process going. And that goes into the message requests. So not everybody sees that, and it's a bit of a limitation on the whole deal. But what some people do is, I know one guy, for example, who has got a private Facebook group, and one of the questions that he puts in there is to click on this link. And what the link does is takes you to a chat bot, and in there you have to type in your information and email address and so on. And that will then get you in not only into his chatbot subscriber list, but also into his email list, which is quite a neat little way of doing it. And you then got access twice to the same subscriber. And so that's pretty much it on chatbots. As I say, the ones that I'm using are ManyChat, which is probably a bit more developed, and Segmate, which is the one which is maybe a bit simpler to operate and to use. And that's connected to Facebook Messenger, but there is another type of bot called Conversio bot, which is one which is, it's a bit like a chat session that you can have running on your website. So if you're running a website or a blog, then you can add Conversio bot into that, and it acts a bit like a help desk. And so what do you need to do to get that going? Well, you need to subscribe to Conversio bot. I know somebody that is running a business out of writing Conversio bots, and it's a bit like a question and answer session, frequently asked questions, that kind of thing. And you just need to insert some JavaScript code into your website, and that works fine with things like WordPress and ClickFunnels and Kartra and those similar websites that you can do. You may have to go back to your website developer if you're using one, but I have to say these days really you can have a domain name and website presence up there without going all the way down into a full-blown website developer. So we'll be talking about that a bit later in the week. So that's pretty much it for today, and talk to you later. Hi folks, it's David Cox here on day 8 of the Facebook Live challenge, and today it's talking about sales funnels. So sales funnels, probably the best known of those is ClickFunnels, and the one that I use all the time. And a sales funnel is a place where you draw your customers to. So you deliver your customers using Facebook ads or links from social media or from LinkedIn or from all the other things that we'll be talking about. And you can set up your domain name, and that will take you straight through to your sales funnel. And the sales funnel will then have something to invite your customers in. It's usually a lead magnet, or sometimes called an ethical bribe, or a free gift, or something along those lines to get them interested, in exchange for their contact details, which would be name, email, and maybe telephone number. So those are the things that will draw them into your sales funnel. And once they're in your sales funnel, you can then show them videos, you can give them information by text and by images on what it is that you're selling. It can be a service, it can be an info product, it can be a physical product. And the top level sales funnels will connect all this together and allow you very much a drag and drop basic view of what it is that you're trying to do, what you're trying to sell, and so on. I use it for marketing training programs, but it can be used for anything. And anything is pretty much anything that needs to be bought and sold. So what does it do? How does it deal with all of that? Well, you can integrate it with all sorts of other programs. For example, you can integrate it with an email responder. So when they put their email address in to get access to your free gift, then your email responder will get triggered, and that will send an email out to the people who have shown some interest, and at that point they will have the free gift, and then your email sequence will then get them interested in the other products that you've got for sale. So that's one way. There'll also be a payment processor in there. Now, you can take credit cards through your sales funnel using Stripe. You can use PayPal. PayPal is sort of everywhere, but it's expensive. Stripe is probably a better bet. And then you can get access to other sites. So you can integrate, for example, ClickFunnels with a place such as Shopify. And Shopify is probably the best e-commerce platform. It's, if you've got products that you're going to fulfill yourselves, then that's probably it. We'll talk about Shopify a bit later on this week. So what it does is a sales funnel. It combines all your text, your videos, your messages, and so on, and it will collect all the bits and pieces that you need to deal with your customers. So the ClickFunnels version of this is run by a guy called Russell Brunson, and those of you that are familiar with Rob Moore will know that he talks about his personal brand and his business brand. Well, Rob Moore's personal brand is very well known, but his business brand is Progressive Property. Russell Brunson, that is his personal brand, and his business brand is ClickFunnels. So ClickFunnels is maybe not a bad place to start. And what I'll do is I'll put some links below to a couple of books which have been written by Russell Brunson. One's called .com Secrets, and the other one is called Expert Secrets. And you can get those. They delivered from the States, but you have to pay shipping. And that's about $15 last time I bought one from him. So that's all for today on ClickFunnels. And if you need to know any more, then let me know by sending me a message, and I'll sort out some more information on it. Day 9 of the Facebook Live challenge, and I want to pick up from few things that we were talking about yesterday, which was on ClickFunnels and the use of membership sites. Now, a membership site is where you can store all of your information, the guidance, the information that your clients might want to be made available to them, and this can be in video format or documentary and so on. And you can build on this. It can be regular, so you can make your membership site into a subscription site or a one-off site, and you can segment that, so you can have a series of products, as ClickFunnels put it, and a product can be an entire course, or it can be 8 different products, each which is a module, and the individual will then be able to pay for each particular module as they go through the membership site. So all of these things are controllable, and you could also make the qualification to your membership site the purchase of a product. So you buy my product, and therefore you'll get access to the membership site, and you can build up the whole library of information on your membership site, and it's then protected by ClickFunnels in this particular case. Now, there are other sites where you can host training information. We had a look at Udemy as a source of training for earlier in the week, but there are others, and if you're going to create your own training material for whatever reason, for your clients or for the big wide world, then there are a number of them, and I'll give you a list of a few. One is called Thinkific, which is probably my favorite. There's then Teachable, which is quite well thought of, but I didn't particularly have good experiences with them, so but they're certainly there and they're popular. And there's Kajabi, that's another one where you can host your material. And then the last one to mention is Xenier, Z-E-N-I-E-R, and Xenier is new. So new usually means cheaper than the rest. Whether it's better than the rest, well, it's just worth a try, because none of these things are running forever. You have to pay a monthly subscription to take part in these things. Apart from Udemy, it's because they take all the money really on Udemy, but the rest are on a subscription. And then it's a question about where are you going to host your videos. Now, we spoke earlier on about videos. You can put them on YouTube, and certainly having a YouTube channel should be part of your arsenal of information that you put out to the big wide world, and the more videos you put up on YouTube, the better you like it. Just make sure that you've got all your keywords in there, and they are all then accessible by Google or through the YouTube search engine. But if you want a bit more control over what it is that you're putting out, how it starts, how it finishes, what happens during it, then I would recommend Vimeo. I use Vimeo which creates links, and you can then decide what your link will do. It will be, for example, whether anyone can download your video or whether they can't, whether it's available to the big wide world or whether it's restricted. It can be password protected. All of these things on Vimeo. That's another subscription, but the basic level is about 80 quid for a year. So it's not, in a business sense, it's not going to break the bank, or at least hopefully it won't break the bank. So what are the other things that you might need to make your whole presence look a bit more professional? Well, if you want graphics, then you should go to canva.com, that's CANVA.com, where you can actually create logos and titles. And if you search Canva and say, look, I want this graphic to go on my Facebook page or some other some other social media platform, then they will come up with a template which is the right size, and so it will fit, and you don't have to then go playing around with Paint or one of the other graphical editing programs. So Canva certainly is a good one. And the other one to know about is Fiverr. Now Fiverr, that's Fiverr.com, is a list of people who will go and create logos for you if that's what you want, but they will also create videos. So if you want a video to put on the end of your material, then you can get animated video with sound, and that can be grafted onto the front of all your videos. Oh, you can have one on the end. So Fiverr is where you can actually go and you can sort out a video producer or who will then send it through to you for your approval. And I think the one that I use on the front of my videos cost me 25 bucks. This is in US dollars. Fact of life is that most of the internet stuff is expressed in US dollars rather than pounds, so it can get a bit expensive sometimes of converting one to the other, but there we go. So this is just a few more tips on how to develop your presence online. And what this is doing is building your profile. So all of these things will connect, and with Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and blogging, we haven't talked about blogging yet, but that comes soon, then all of these platforms can be made to connect to each other and will then inform the world about what it is that you are doing with your life. And what it's doing is it's collecting up assets for you. When I finish this 12-day challenge, or it might be 13 by the time we get it done, then I will be stitching these all together into a video through Camtasia. I'll put a graphic or video on the front just to say who it is. I'll put a tail end piece on the end saying please like my video, and then I'll post that on YouTube. So at the end of this, I'll give you a link to the YouTube channel, which you can then go and subscribe to and like the video, and we all move on to better and better things. So that's it for today. I'll catch you again tomorrow. Morning folks, it's David Cox here again. This is day 10 of the Facebook Live Challenge, and today I want to talk about domain names. You know, domain names, those things that end in .com or .co.uk, .net or .org, and any number of others depending on the country that you're in and the kind of organization that deserves to have a domain name. So these .com, .net, etc. are called the top level domains, and there are a number, and in fact there are loads of new ones coming out. Back in the day there used to be a few and they were expensive. Now they're pretty cheap, and if you're running an internet marketing business, then having your own domain name is very much part of it, or many domain names, and it depends on which particular project that you're trying to run. So let's talk a little bit about domain names. Now, there are a number of places where you can go and register a domain name or find out whether your domain name is the one you would like, that is available. So probably the most popular place is GoDaddy.com, or you can go to Namecheap.com, and I have used in the past Easily.uk. So these are all places where you can actually register your domain name. And the domain name that you choose then becomes yours, and you have to identify yourself and know where they can find you. So there's nothing particularly mysterious about domain names. And if you want an email address which is sent to your domain name, so if I've got a domain name called bladiblah.com and I want an email address which is david@bladiblah.com, then I can use that and I can register that through GoDaddy, and then anybody that sends me an email will go to GoDaddy and then they'll forward it on to me, and I can read it in Outlook and it becomes my email address. Now that's important for organizations such as autoresponders like Aweber and some of the others who insist on having an email address which is yours personally, not one of the free ones, because you can have an email address which is hosted at outlook.com or gmail.com and so on. They're all free, and we all have loads and loads of those for different reasons. But you can have, if you're having a full-blown business, then you can have your email address hosted with the same as your domain name. So that's one good reason to have it. Now, one of the things that you can do with a domain name is you can, through a process called forwarding, you can send it on to another website. So let's take an example. If you join ClickFunnels or WordPress, then and you go to your site on any of those companies, then you find out that your name is stuck on the front of theirs. So my ClickFunnels website address is davidwcox-app.clickfunnels.com. Now that's all a bit of a mouthful and looks pretty untidy, and if I've got multiple funnels, which I do, then a funnel will, on the end of it, have / and then a whole load of letters and numbers and symbols, etc., to identify that particular funnel as me. Now, if you've got your own domain name, then that domain name can be made to be forward any traffic to, let's say, davidwcox-app.clickfunnels.com /da-da-da-da. Now, you can actually add that into the domain name company. So you have the access to the back end of all of this in GoDaddy, and you follow instructions, and it's a bit of cutting and pasting, and most people can do cutting and pasting these days, and if not, then there's always somebody around who can help, people such as me, and you can then make that domain name that you've got send forward to a particular funnel or a particular website. So if you've got a WordPress site, a blog which you're using as a WordPress, and you can put text and videos and all sorts on that, then you can get into the back end through settings, and you can then integrate your WordPress site with your brand new domain name. So if I've got, my domain name is www.bladiblah.com, then I can then send any traffic that's sent to that through to my WordPress site if I chose to, or through to a ClickFunnels and so on. And these websites like ClickFunnels and WordPress have got the ability to integrate your domain name in with that, and you can, if you want, you can also integrate things going back a couple of days of this series. You can integrate ClickFunnels and WordPress with your email autoresponder. So if anyone comes to your site and leaves their name and email address, then that can be sent on to Aweber or whichever autoresponder that you're using. So that's a whole process called forwarding through from your domain names, and it all runs in the back end of the domain naming system, better known as DNS. So it might sound a bit technical and you might think, oh, I can't do that. But once you find your way in, it's all pretty simple and it works like a dream. And then you can use your domain name as your main, put it on your business card and so on, and that becomes you, even though in the back end it's being sent to some other site such as ClickFunnels. So the other thing just to mention is that if you want a website which is not suitable for WordPress or for ClickFunnels, then you can actually have your hosting of your website done by people like GoDaddy, and they all offer hosting services. So you take your files, there's a start-off file which is usually called something like index.html or whatever you choose to do it, and then everything else is linked to it. Now again, that might all sound very complicated, but it's not that difficult, and it should not cost an absolute fortune to get that set up. Just the other thing to mention is that some of these long names that you've got, and we've mentioned a few like the ClickFunnels ones and so on, one thing you can also do is use a link shortener. So when you have these great long strings of letters and numbers and dot this and / that and so on, you can actually put that into a link shortener, and just to name a couple, bit.ly is one of them, and another one is tiny.cc. Now these are all free and they fit much better into adverts. So if you're running Facebook ads or any other ads on your site, then you can use bit.ly / and then it will then identify the particular link that you want to send it through to. So that's pretty much it. Now, bit.ly and bit.ly and tiny.cc are not acceptable to absolutely everyone, but you have to find that out by a bit of trial and error. Certainly Facebook will use bit.ly, and that means that you can put a proper and a full-blown website link onto your Facebook ads using bit.ly, and it will then take them to wherever it is that you want to go. So if you're selling a product which is hosted on Shopify, for example, that will have a long link to the particular product that you can then shorten that up just to a few characters. So that's it for today on domain names. If you've got any issues or questions, then send me a personal message and I'll try and help you out. It's David Cox here again. This is day 11 of the Facebook Live Challenge. And today we're talking about blogging and podcasting, which are both ways of getting your message out there to your fans and your tribe and the world in general. So what about blogging? Well, I suppose the favorite blogging site is WordPress. Now, WordPress is a bit of a complicated beast, to say the least, and it allows you a bit more than blogs, really, because it runs on plugins, and there's all sorts of things that you can do with plugins to enhance your WordPress site. And one of the things you can do, for example, is there's a plugin called WooCommerce, which allows you to sell products online as a retail store. Personally, I prefer Shopify, and Shopify has got all the bits, and it is a pure retail store. But WooCommerce is a WordPress plugin that I have used in the past and is something which is available to you. And it's like many, many other plugins. And as well as that, you can actually integrate this with your domain name, which we talked about yesterday. And domain names can then be forwarded to your WordPress site, so that if you go to www.bladiblah.com, then that will take you onto your WordPress site. And there's plenty of training around. We talked about Udemy earlier in the week, and for just a few quid you can actually go and get training on WordPress implementations in general, and just generally follow the advice. So the other site, just to mention quickly, is blogger.com. Now, blogger.com is run by Google, which means that it's searchable. It means that Google looks at it often to pick up any keywords. Now, keywords is something we'll talk about tomorrow in CEO, but if you've got a list of keywords for your product or service, then they should be in your blog, and blogger.com allows you to do that. It also allows you to set up pages which are not only searchable but are also shareable. So I use blogger.com for things like privacy policies that I put on websites, for terms and conditions, and just general open text stuff which is there, and you just insert the link into whichever website or whichever platform that you're using, and people can then access the necessary, in my case, the privacy policy that relates to the business that I'm running. So that's blogger.com and by Google. Now, finally, quick word about podcasts. Podcasts are certainly a brilliant way for getting your message out there, and you create a podcast. There's a couple of things that you need, and one is a decent microphone. I can't emphasize enough how a decent microphone increases the quality of your podcast. So here's one that I use, if I can get it on the screen, and that big black round thing is a pop protector, which means that if I'm speaking close to the microphone, as you would, then that will filter out any of the hissing sounds and the popping sounds that come from your mouth when you're making a recording. This particular recording, I'm using the microphone in the webcam that I've got. Now, you may say, well, that's okay, but if it's permanent training, which I do a lot of, or it's for a podcast, then you'll definitely need a better microphone than just the ones that you get in your mobile phone or your iPad, or indeed, as I'm using here, the microphone in the webcam. So that's about podcasts. Now, some software to edit this is, there's a product called Audacity, and that's what you would use to prepare your podcasts on maybe a twice a week or a weekly basis, a regular basis certainly, and then upload it to one of the podcast hosting sites. And I suppose the daddy of them all is iTunes. And if you can get your podcast onto iTunes, then you've pretty much cracked it. And then the job is to tell all your contacts, your customers, your clients, your fan club, your tribe, and the whole wide world how they can actually listen to your podcast and get the message out there to spread the word. So that's all about spreading the word. So that's it for today. Hi folks, it's David Cox here on day 12 of the Facebook Live Challenge, and today I just want to say a few words about search engine optimization, or SEO for short. And you've made all this effort to get yourself out there, put yourself online, put it in websites and blogs and all of these other things that we've been talking about this week. And the result of that is that you want the big wide world to be able to find you by looking for you, and the way they would do that is by using a search engine. Now, there have been a few over the years, but the number one and the big daddy of them all is Google.com or google.co.uk, but it uses the same technology. And you enter your search terms into the Google box, and you're trusting that then everyone will find you and you get your message and be able to buy your products or services as a result. And Google also owns other websites, for example, YouTube, and YouTube is actually the number 2 search engine. So you go to YouTube, you can search for anything you like, and it will almost certainly come up with some answer of how to do things. So Google is it out there, and if you want to know how to do something, you go to YouTube and say, I want to know how to do so-and-so, and the search engine will do the business. So that's those two. There is another avenue that you'll be using in furtherance of your business, and that's a blog site. And blogger.com is owned and run by Google, so Google will be looking at your blog to find out if there is anything of any significance in there. So blogger.com is the one that Google look at, but of course it also looks at sites like WordPress, and WordPress is probably even more important than blogger.com. So WordPress again needs to be filled with your information using what are keywords. Now, keywords and phrases are the important part of what a search engine will do. So to do some keyword research on your product or your service is an integral part of getting yourself online. And you can test these things out. There's a number of ways that you can do that. But the whole process, I have to say, can get quite complex. And being complex means that you may need to recruit the professionals in order to give you some help with that. But you can do a lot to help yourselves by making sure that everything that you do and everything we've talked about in this week's coverage through Facebook is in fact included all of your keywords in as many places as you like. And these days Google is clever enough to be able to recognize text that's included in images. So if you use something like Canva to insert text into your graphics, then Google will be looking at that. So go back to our YouTube stories of earlier this week, then there is a thumbnail that you would put on to your front of your YouTube video, and that should have different text in than the title of the actual video itself. So you're feeding the search engines with two lots of information, and both of them will be used to establish where you are online, no matter whether it's your personal brand that you're trying to promote or whether it's your business brand that you're trying to promote. Good example of this is Rob Moore with his personal brand, and Progressive Property is the business brand. Russell Brunson is his personal brand, and ClickFunnels is his business brand. For me, it's David Cox Trainer is my personal brand, and Retusa Limited is the business brand. So these things have to be taken into consideration as you build the information and the content on your various entries into the internet so that people can find you. And there is a hierarchy of information that you can put into there, and first of all you have to make it available, and then after that it's a question of refinement and then making sure that the web experience of the potential customers and your contacts are able to find you and the information that they want about your business. And one of the ways for enhancing that is to use what I call backlinks, and backlinks are putting links to other websites on your content. So if there's a link to another website which is in fact very popular, then the Google search engine will see that as being advantageous and will improve your search rankings. So everyone is looking to be on to page 1 of a Google search, and backlinks are one of the ways of helping to do that. So you can actually check this out for yourself. You can use Google Insights, Google Trends, and they've now got a thing called Think with Google, all of which will help to find out where you are. And also, just as importantly, is where are your competitors? So if you sort of search for your competitors, then that's when you'll find out what keywords they're using in order to enhance your own presence online. So the SEO is search engine optimization and is a fundamental part of doing business online, and I would suggest that you pay some regard to that whenever you're going through all the other stuff that we've been talking about during this little program of information. So that's it for today. I'll do a summary tomorrow, and this information I'm going to stitch it all together using Camtasia and put it up onto YouTube, so you'll be able to have a look at it anytime you like. So that's it for today. Bye. Hi folks, it's David Cox here for the final summary day of the 12-day Facebook Live challenge that we've been going through. And what I've been trying to do over the last 12 days is to give you a bit of an insight into those skills that you will need in order to make your business or develop a business on the online field of internet marketing. So just a quick review of what we got through. We kicked off with Facebook because this is Facebook, and Facebook advertising is still generating leads, and it's really the best medium for focusing down your advertising. Then we had a quick look at YouTube and hosting your material on YouTube, another essential, or if it's going to be permanent, then maybe Vimeo is a bit better. And then we had a look at LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is all about profiles. So much of this stuff is about the profile that you set out, so that people who are looking for someone who can do something come up with your name on the searches rather than fluking on it or being recommended by a friend. So you're looking for new business, then the profile that you put out is the one. And if you need some training on all this stuff, then we talked about Udemy. Now, Udemy is not the only platform. You can get a whole mountain of stuff free on YouTube, but Udemy is a bit more organized, and it's still not going to cost a fortune. You know, we know of stuff that can cost hundreds of pounds and hundreds of dollars, and that is you can get on Udemy for a tenner. So that was the training. And we had a quick look at messenger bots, and messenger bots and chat bots are a thing which are going to be coming. You engage with a page, so if you've got a page, you can run a messenger bot on it on Facebook And then there are other ways of getting your messages out there using Conversio bots, which is like a bit like a help desk, which you can run on any website. So then we had a quick look at membership sites and sales funnels in particular. And ClickFunnels is the one that I use. That can become your website. So all you need to do for that is just to enroll on ClickFunnels. If you want your website to look a bit more professional, then you need to spend a few bucks and quids on a domain name and then integrate that with your sales funnel. And sales funnels can do pretty much anything that you want, include videos, they take money, they can send emails and so on. So the whole thing becomes all one big integrated effort. And then finally we talked about blogging and podcasts, both of which are there to develop your profile for the search engines. So all the search engines, Google and Bing and etc., etc. So all of these things are there to be developed, and if you want to be online, then I suppose the news is that all of these need to be ticked on the boxes. So good luck with all of that, and I'm going to be putting this material onto YouTube as a freebie. So when you get to YouTube, then you can subscribe to my channel and tick a like on the box, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.